There we go. All right, folks, here we go. Kelly's Taboo Terrors presents Visceral Pleasure and Extreme Cinema 2. Since last year's event was such a rousing success, I decided to continue on with the tradition of bringing together women to discuss a favorite subgenre of mine, and that's extreme horror. I'm Kelly from Spincers of Horror, and not only do I write for our website and other publications, but my co-host Jessica and I have a monthly podcast called I Spit on Your Podcast. I created Taboo Terrors a few years ago because I found myself drifting more and more towards these very intriguing, transgressive films. Folks, content and trigger warnings ahead. If you know anything about Taboo Terrors, then I hope you know what you're getting into today and all weekend. But I want to remind folks that there will be discussions of themes and films that might be upsetting to some viewers. Topics such as sexual assault, violence, torture, necrophilia, and more will be mentioned. Viewers' dismemberment is strongly advised. So for today's first panel, it's called Creating the Extreme. Blood, gaping wounds, entrails, decapitations, and more. To create extreme film, sometimes one needs to research real crime photos to make it look as realistic as possible. And it takes a special mind or collaboration of wonderful macabre minds and a creative vision to bring it all together. Joining our panel of filmmakers, directors, actors, and special effects artists to hear what it takes to, behind the scenes to create such disturbing cinema. So I will introduce our panelists, starting with Felicia Fisher, the infamous, the legend. Felicia Fisher is a fetish model and erotic horror actor from the Midwestern U.S. She got her start in horror in A Baroque House's Spit in 2018. She has been featured in Hustler magazine for her experience in genre-bending horror and porn films. Hello, Felicia. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here today.
Love
so
it.
Exciting.
Our next panelist is Vivian Kay. So Vivian Kay is a transgender female who is in part of the underground horror community for some time. She's worked with the likes of White Gardenia on most of her films and has also associate produced a number of Sam Hell films like Flesh Eater X and The Satanic Works of Jasmine. Vivian started her own film company, Embryo House or Embryo Pink, just recently. Her focus for this is to bring the abstract and art house style to individuals who deeply love the genre. Welcome, Vivian. And thank you, everybody who has joined thus far. Sorry. Yes, Vivian will be joining us shortly. My last panelist is Jessie Seitz. Jessie Seitz is an FX artist and filmmaker whose work includes films such as Jacob's Wife, the erotic gore nonsense series, the documentary Beyond Horror, and the upcoming American Guinea Pig Chum Bucket. She currently resides in an undisclosed location with the world's best dog, an alpha rabbit, and her husband. She is a proud Jaws the Revenge evangelist. I always have to look that word up. Evangelist. And again, I am your host, Kelly. I know Jess is my tech gremlin today. She's in the background. She'll be making sure that Vivian gets in here as soon as we can. But we should carry on. Don't want to take up too much of your time. So let's start with the first question. And then folks in the audience, as you're watching, at the end, closer to the end of the panel, we will open it up for audience comments, questions, and stuff like that. So the first question is, what are some of the first films that you watched or introduced you to the genre? I'll start with you, Jessie.
So I got into it, I think, at probably an inappropriate age, somewhere like around 13 or 14. I just started to seek out like a little bit more. I had long since been a horror movie fan. But after a while you get curious of some of these like more infamous titles. So Last House on the Left was definitely like a big intro to me, where it's like, wow, that's just a little bit more than like your typical horror film. And I really appreciated like the honesty that was shown in that. And shortly after, films like Miss 45 and Cannibal Holocaust just came across my desk, so to speak. And I was just very captivated by it. And my truly lifelong love for that like genre really grew out of like those old classics, like just that there's something else that like could be done with cinema.
I love that. And it's kind of how I feel of how I've transitioned from like being a normal horror fan for like 25 years, coming in and watching those types of movies. Like, this was probably 8 years ago. I watched a Serbian film, August Underground, Headless, Ichi the Killer, and like the Japanese cinema. And I was like, oh, wow, there is a lot more and a lot of different things and a lot of really interesting themes that we can play with and imagery that can show to create these films. And Felicia, I know you're not a big movie watcher.
Oh my God, I just not rocketed. Yeah. So
how did you get involved in all of this then?
yeah, circling back to like Cannibal Holocaust and like movies like that, I remember being in high school and like renting a bunch of movies from like the local movie place and being like, okay, I'm going in, let's do this. Like, I've heard of Cannibal Holocaust, I've heard of Pink Flamingos, like, let's go in. And like, I really like John Waters movies, but like Cannibal Holocaust, like Faces of Death, stuff like that, like I have a really hard time suspending like disbelief, so I couldn't really get into it as much, I think like I need to be like really compelled by a movie's like plot and everything like that, and all of it is just like a bunch of gore, which that's what I do now, me and a bunch of gore on film. But I will say that I do like fetish type like gore movies. I specifically remember being 19 and working in an adult store and finding Max Hardcore's movies. And if anybody knows who he is, he's like adult film creator who was like arrested in 2005 during the obscenity trial sweeps for doing like really extreme like vomit movies. I feel like he has like a cult status amongst some people I know in horror too, because there's a little bit of a crossover. It's just like this is like in very, very, very taboo type situations that he's in with these like models and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, that's how I got into all of this. And then fast forward to like 5 years later, I'm like vomiting all over myself in a shower for Sam Hell. That's just how life is sometimes.
That's just how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. So I feel like I'm generally like kind of still new. There's so much more for me to explore, and I'm so excited. Like Max Hardcore, haven't seen any of those. I'll add that to my ever-growing list of so much that I need to see. And I often go to Jessie for recommendations. I'll be like, "Whoa, I just watched The Bunny Game." She's like, "Yes, you did." Stuff like that. So she's been a wonderful resource and friend during all of this. I know Vivian's still working with Jess on some tech difficulties, but we'll march on through. So you started out as like intrigued or at least fans of these films, and now you're involved with them. You're starring in them. You're creating them. So what made you want to do that and go from like a viewer, a spectator of these transgressive films into literally being in them, creating them and stuff like that? So how did that kind of jump go for you? We'll start with Jessie again. I'll go back and forth that way.
Cool. Perfect.
So I got started pretty early, at the age of 18, and I've pretty much been like known what I wanted to do with my life for a very long time. So that's either very mature or immature, however you want to look at it, that I haven't changed in 20 years. But I had deliberately sought out Wicked Pixel Cinema because they were basically like in my backyard. I was living in St. Louis at the time, and was just like, yeah, like put me in, coach, and proceeded to work all aspects. Had a very brief career acting, doing like the exploitation like movie thing, and it was just mostly like silly stuff, but I wanted to understand like what it was like in front of the camera. And after about like 4 or 5 years, I really just wanted to do like my own shit. And so I just kind of like launched forward with that. And at first, even though I had kind of come up in that like genre, I was like a little timid to actually explore that, like as a director. I think that, I don't know, you put like a lot of pressure like on yourself, I think, when you first start doing that type of work. But about the third project in that was like solely mine, I was just like, yeah, fuck it, like let's just like rip this band-aid off. And that's how I started directing films like this.
Very cool. It's almost like you're seeing it, you're enjoying it. What can you bring to the table? What you like, it's special Jessie sauce can you bring to the table, right? That's gross. But anyways, the Jessie sauce. And I like the sauce. I've liked the sauce so far. So you're doing something right. And Felicia, you touched on this, but I think you started with like fetish modeling and doing that type of work. And now you're into, and I don't think I've heard it called this. You called it erotic horror. And I love that. I'm definitely going to take that, because I think what a lot of the community calls it is fetish gore, which I also love the name of. But you kind of transition to doing these films like Jonathan Doe's The Degenerates and all of the like the Sam Hell films that I spent like last weekend watching. So what has that transition been like, going from the modeling kind of work into these films where you're acting and all of that?
Yeah. Now that I think about it, erotic horror sounds like something you'd see on like HBO late at night, like, back in the day. But yeah, I mean, the transition, it was pretty fluid, no pun intended. I mean, Sam Hell found me from my porn Twitter. He had seen that I had done like vomit fetish movies and stuff like that, because I am deeply inspired by Max Hardcore.
There you go.
And yeah, he saw that I was doing that, and he hit me up and asked if I wanted to be in a horror movie. And I was like, yes, please. I like, that would be incredible. I don't really watch them, but I mean, I don't know. When I was younger, I was really into like, there was some like local TV show where they would play like independent like films and stuff like that by like local creators. And that like always drew me in. And I've never really made movies like that on my own, but I thought it was like really cool, like to maybe get into a realm outside of porn. Like I never saw myself doing that. And then I did it, and it was great. And then he kept having me on for movies, and then other people started having me on for movies too. So yeah, I mean, I guess the process is kind of similar to like booking like porn movies, except it tends to be a bit more intense, being covered in blood and other fluids like all day. You don't really get that on porn sets. Maybe some sets, none that I've been on yet though. So yeah, I hope that's a good answer. That was like kind of like rambly.
But no, it's great. It's great. Yeah, we're still figuring out Vivian. So again, we're going to keep trekking forward. She'll be in when she's in. So next question is, what's your journey been like thus far in the kind of extreme underground and horror world as a woman? Like, how has that been for you?
It's been bumpy. I'm not gonna lie. It's really I don't know. I think that I assumed, because it was very micro budget, and that the stakes would be a little bit lower, meaning that not that people weren't interested in producing quality, but there wouldn't be so much backstabbing or just weirdness. But it's definitely there too, prevalent, and that's been a little weird to deal with, honestly, because I feel like nobody's like a millionaire like off of these films, so it's weird to me when stuff like that happens, because it's like we're creating it because we want to be. So that was that's made things like definitely a little hard, and just some of the unanticipated blowback, like with the documentary. Definitely have had people who have gotten like very upset because of who I interviewed.
Right. And Beyond Horror, right? So
yeah, with Beyond Horror,
interviewed Lucifer Valentine and stuff like that. Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And that was a weird. Not that obviously I was like very aware that he was controversial, as is Marion Dora, as is several of the people that we interviewed for that documentary. But I thought it was weird that people took it like so personally and like kind of like directed that like specifically towards me, even though the documentary is like co-directed by a man. So there's just like a lot to like unpack there. I mean, obviously it hasn't stopped me from still participating and doing like what I do, but it's definitely been like a very interesting like road for sure.
Excellent. And since, okay, Vivian, can you hear us? Can you see us? Are we all in?
Yeah, it's all good. Sorry. I really tried to get in here like 15 minutes early, actually 20 minutes early, and
that's all right. We're here.
I'm not technically inclined. Sorry.
That's okay. Well, why don't we jump over to you then, and then we'll go back to Felicia. So Vivian, you've associate produced numerous films, which is amazing. But you had your first short created recently, La Tristesse. So what's that been like, and what has your journey as a transgender individual in this extreme underground kind of horror community been like?
It's actually, to be honest with you, it's been really hard. You would think that you would reach out to people and you would expect that things would, kind of work themselves into each and every film. Unfortunately, for me, it's not been that easy. It really hasn't been. And, I've been trying to make sure that things have worked out. I have associate produced things, but at the same point in time, these girls have worked their asses off, and honestly, it's been trying.
Jessie, can you attest to that as well? Maybe Felicia, like, is it hard to like break into this community?
I'll let Felicia take that one. I breaking in, I feel like is the not easy, but like the easiest part of it, because I think it's just like the willingness like to do it. It's that maintaining and finding like the right people to connect with.
Right. And I think you three have all worked together. I feel like it can be such a close-knit community, and there's a lot of sharing of like actors and directors and all that. And I do love that. That's what I've been observing. And I think that's really fantastic. A lot of a collaboration for these films.
Yeah. I'm very thankful that once I got in, I've kind of stuck to like certain groups of people that have like ended up working out very well. I think that's been the key to my success, just finding myself with people that I can keep working with, or like that are vouched for or whatever. That being said, like I was thinking about this question, and I think the most irksome thing that's happened to me is like people assuming that I'm fucking people that I work with. Like that's come up a lot, where they're just like, you're dating that person, aren't you? That's your boyfriend? And I'm like, no, I'm here to work. Thanks. Like I'm here to film a movie and go home. I don't know what you thought this was. Like, but that being said, like everyone I've worked with has been really great. Nobody has made me feel uncomfortable at all, or like tried to be weird. Nobody I've worked with, people that have tried to work with me have done that, but nobody I've worked with has like been a fucking weirdo. But it does help to like stick to a group, like once you're in, like sticking to those people if possible.
That's interesting. That's really interesting. And again, I'm very glad that that's been your experience. So I'm really happy to hear that. And Felicia, there's a documentary about you that I also watched, The Odd World of Felicia Fisher. So you have a documentary about you and your journey and your career thus far. So what was that like to have somebody put together, a preview and just say, look at this, look at who this is, who I am.
It's very surreal. I never would have expected that to like happen, especially like thinking about it. People are like, how many like movies have you done? And like getting into like the tens, like it's crazy. Yeah, I mean, at that point, I think I was like 6 or 7 movies in with like Sam Hell, and it's just wild to know I have that under my belt. Like, honestly, it feels like I might need to do another documentary at some point, but I think it was a really great retrospective of all of my work up to that point with Sam Hell. In fact, I think that was the last thing we shot. So yeah, like all of the work I've done with him in like a little set for people to like find like 50 years from now in a DVD store if those still exist, if we're not all dead. Like very cool to think about. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll move into our next question, which Felicia, you kind of already touched on, but what are some of the biggest challenges you've faced creating these types of films? And there's kind of the negative, but then the positive. So what have been some like bad things and some challenges, but also some of your favorite moments, some like really positive, like this is my life and this is fantastic. I'll start with you, Vivian.
Well, my favorite moment was the first time that I spent like 3 hours on the phone with Stephen Biro. It was unbelievable.
Only 3?
Yeah, only 3. Yeah. There has been 5 hours, and I really honestly, and this is gonna sound pandering, but I spent many hours on the phone with Jessie. And we have laughed our asses. I remember when she was telling me that they were working on their house, and oh my God, she challenged me to watch what was it? It was
August Underground.
August. Yes. It was August Underground. She challenged me that because I kept telling her it's like a buddy film, and she never like got angry with me. She just like challenged me in that, and she's like rewatch it, and I was like, son of a bitch. But yeah, I want to say it's Stephen Biro and Jessie. I love her to death, and and if I know that you're gonna mic me, but it's also the time that I spent with Felicia and Jessie, and we ate at what's it? What are we? Where were we?
I'm like Applebee's, Olive Garden. I can't, one of those types of places in like the middle of Illinois.
Absolutely. I'm not trying to do an interview with Felicia and Jessie, and these like they kept coming over, and they're like, "Hey, do you want some more food and stuff like that?" And yeah, I mean, these are my girls. Honestly, these are my girls.
I love that. Yeah, no, it's a lot of this. A lot of this.
And if I can carry anybody, these 2 girls, I carry with me. I'm serious. I love these girls so much. These are my girls.
Yeah, I would love to meet all of you in real life. Eventually, it's going to happen. Come to Toronto. Toronto's like a big city. You can do some stuff here.
And I don't look this way. Seriously. You guys are all made up, and like you got makeup on, and I was like, what do I do? Like, I went to the farmer's market, and this is what I look like.
Amazing.
You look great.
Yeah. How about you, Jessie? What's like a big, like one of your favorite moments of your career thus far, of like making films or a documentary or somebody you met?
I have been really, really blessed like the last couple of years to just be able to work with people who I admire a lot. I think being on a set and then like nailing it together, those are always like my favorite moments to put a spin on it. Also on the lovey-dovey department, filming Felicia for Chum Bucket was amazing just to watch because she really throws herself into that appearance. I was like afraid at first. I don't want to give too much away because I want it to like surprise people when they see it. But like after she was finished, I was like, oh God, babe, are you like okay? Because it was very powerful. And it's awesome to like see the other end of like a shoot. And like, yeah, we like all contributed and came and like did this together. And that's really the feeling that keeps me like coming back for it, you know. It's pretty like powerful and awesome. And yeah, it is very like rewarding, like in those good moments, like when you're like very vibing like with people. And I don't know, I'll probably be doing this until like I'm 99 as a result of it.
And I'll be watching until I'm 99. So please continue creating the wonderful Jessie juice. All right. And how about you, Felicia? Any kind of like some of your favorite moments or maybe movies or something that's happened in your career?
Yeah, I'm gonna echo what these guys said. And Chum Bucket was very surreal. Um, very, very surreal to have a check from Stephen Biro and like be working on a set funded by him and be working with such talented people. Especially doing it all in the Midwest. I don't think people really consider the Midwest, like in the US, to be like a place where things happen. I've had people tell me like, wow, you're doing like such great work for being in the middle of nowhere. And I'm like, thanks, man, I guess. Like, yeah. Wow, passive aggressive. But yeah, like it feels really, really cool to be surrounded by such like talented people out here, or making other directors come out here. I've made Sam and John Doe come out here to shoot like movies a couple times just so I could be like, yeah, this was shot in Chicago. This is a Chicago movie. It feels really cool to be able to do that. I don't know. Like, yeah, like having like, I don't know, places I know be in the B-roll of movies that everybody's going to be watching for a long time. Like it's very exciting. So I guess a combo of, yeah, these guys working, like being involved with projects that Biro has funded or will be putting out. I don't know how much I can talk about that right now.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
just, yeah, like making movies in the Midwest in a place where people don't really see movies being made very often, at least movies that are getting to the level of like being in like magazines and regarded as cult classics or whatever. Yeah, very cool.
Very cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we brought up Chum Bucket. So Jessie, how does it feel? And I guess Felicia, like, how does it feel to be part of the American Guinea Pig series? We know the OG Guinea Pig series is infamous throughout horror, extreme horror film in general. So Stephen Biro's American Guinea Pig series definitely has its following. So now you're a part of it. How does that feel, and what has that been like?
Well, shooting a movie like during a worldwide pandemic, just to kind of circle back, has been a challenge.
Yeah.
So, in a lot of ways, it still feels like very surreal. Obviously, like it's a huge like fucking honor, you know, like to be a part of it, and I'm really excited to get it to like the finish line, and I think that it'll all hit me when like we're finally looking at the finished product, you know, and that's when I'll be able to really process my thoughts. But I mean, I love working with Biro and have had opportunity to do so on a variety of things. And being part of the American Guinea Pig series is a like literal dream come true. I love the original films, tremendous fan of like the first few like American guinea pigs. So to just kind of like contribute to that genre and that lore is very important. And hopefully other people like it too.
I can't wait. I've liked all of them in the series thus far. My favorite being American Guinea Pig Sacrifice. One room, absolute full self-mutilation, destruction of the human body, and it's also kind of Italian, so it was really cool. Felicia, how about you? Anything else to add on to that? I know you kind of talked about it already, but
I feel like Jessie said just about everything I could say. Yeah. And again, I don't really watch movies like that, but it's really crazy, like telling people in my life that like I've worked for like Unearthed Films and like I did an American Guinea Pig, and they're like, what? Like they understand what that is. Like, I don't think a lot of people understand like films that are based off of like Terrible Meal or like Tumbling Down the Flesh or anything, but they know like Unearthed, they know American Guinea Pig, and it's just crazy. It's really crazy.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. And my last question for you folks is, so where are you going next? Where do you see yourself going next? Are there any upcoming projects that you can talk about? Is there like a bucket list? There's like something you really, really want to do in the future that you just haven't done yet? Like, what does the future hold for you three? We'll start with you, Vivian.
Well, first off, you didn't ask me what was my favorite American Guinea Pig film.
That wasn't.
Oh my god! Like, I mean, what do you expect me to say? Like, I'm not gonna pander, for the Christ's sakes of all time. You know, I'm gonna say that you know, I'm shooting Smother Me Alone, and for my company, we have a Blue Android coming up in September, and this year has blown by me. It really has. I'm still trying to figure out like how pretty you guys are, and then there's me. God damn it. Yeah, it's, you know, I'm shooting Smother Me Alone, and I'm getting ready for releasing, you know, Blue Android for Sam Hell. I mean, I love him. I really do. I have associate produced so many of his films, and I'm gonna continue to do that. And if I could ever get Jessie and Marcus and Felicia, and I know you guys are like rolling your eyes, so fuck off. If I could get you guys all on board to do a movie, I would do it. I mean, my heart is so deep entrenched into the underground, and I love so much of what everybody is doing. And I'm not even answering your question, but yeah, Smother Me Alone, and then Blue Android, and then ending out this year for Embryo House, it's Agronominon. I mean, really,
Great.
That's
You're
really,
busy. You got stuff going on, and that's fantastic.
Yeah. And I want to give back. You know, I'm trying so hard to give back to Felicia and Jessie and Marcus and Stephen Byro. These people really guided me along. And I think that if, as an individual, if you lose sight of that, truly, you're not going to go anywhere. These people paved the way for me. They really have.
Trailblazers. Absolutely.
I love them so much. I love these two girls so much.
Great. Felicia, how about you? What's going on with you next? What would you like to do you haven't done?
The record, I would love to be on a project with you, Vivian. If there's something you're filming soon. I'm also
We're
curious.
saying it now.
Yeah. I'm very curious what that Blue Android thing is too, because I was in that movie and I don't know about that.
Ooh.
But yeah. Thrust is premiering this week. That was a movie I did with Victor Bodacore. That's super exciting. I am only going to assume it's going to be out on DVD soon, which was like crazy to like shoot. I would love to work with Aaron Brown like on another project. That would be incredible. That is something I would like to see in the future for sure. In terms of more like concrete things that are happening, Erotic Grotesque Nonsense 3 is coming out in October, I believe. super exciting. Me and Jessie and Little Puck and John Doe shot that a couple weeks ago now, and it was disgusting. It was gross. It was a lot. It was, yes, you guys are gonna love it, I think, because I was grossed out.
Ooh.
Yeah, which like never happens. Yeah, I don't know. I would like to be in more movies. I don't know. Hit me up if anyone's shooting a movie. I work with all budgets. Yeah, hit me up. But that's what I'm doing, and that's what I hope to accomplish in the future.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much. Jessie?
Yeah, so as Felicia mentioned, Erotic Gore Nonsense 3, I got to do the on-set gore for that, and it is filthy. So I'm very excited for people to check out Felicia and Little Puck's performances in it, because it got really wild. I am in the middle of doing pre-planning a photography project, which is basically like an extreme film shot in stills, that's going into a book that may or may not like center on someone who is also being featured right now on this show.
Ooh, how mysterious.
Very mysterious, but it's going to be very cool. And I am also working on a new documentary called Monster Girls, which focuses on the history of women in special effects, which weirdly enough has not been done yet. So going to be doing a lot of cool things like that, including going out to Monster Palooza in October and kind of like promoting that and throwing down some awesome like makeups and stuff. So basically, because of the pandemic, there's going to be like 50 things like all come out at once because finally being able to like wrap up projects. But yeah, lots happening, which I'm very grateful for.
Awesome. I'm excited for literally everything. I can't even keep up with the amount of films and work that's coming out. So thank you for all of your hard work, all three of you. So now I'm going to open up the floor for audience questions. So folks, if you have questions for these three incredible people, please let's start asking them now, and Jess will throw them up on the screen. There's probably going to be some comments too that I hope you all have seen your fans trickling in and throwing up those comments. So, yeah, as those questions come in, if anybody has any of them, I just want to throw up this comment again because I loved it so much about the comment about how fetish and horror can be so closely intertwined. It's really a testament to sexual empowerment in the face of a sexually repressed society. And amazing. And I agree. That's why I think I've really come to really enjoy the erotic horror or the fetish gore aspect of it. And there's so much more for me to watch because it's so deeply taboo. And I'm so in love with it. I love what I've noticed so far is the amount. I'm really happy to see different types of people and different types of bodies when it comes to extreme horror. As I'm watching more films, I'm just noticing more of a trend of like anyone's in it. It's not just going to be super thin blonde women. I'm seeing a lot of like alternative, like tattooed women, different body shapes. It's like so many different, well, the types of people that just exist in the world. And as a fuller figured woman, I'm really, I really appreciate seeing that in these films. So that's one thing I want to put out there for you folks that are in these movies and make these movies. It's not going unnoticed. And it's just something that I really appreciate because even in like the regular horror world, you're still not seeing such inclusivity. And so I'm seeing that in this, like the extreme horror and like the indie kind of underground world. And I just really fucking appreciate it. So thank you. Let's see. All right. Oh, Zoe is another person who I absolutely adore here is Zoe Rose Smith. So she has a question. Who would be a dream person or a director, actor, journalist, anything like that you'd love to work with? Who wants to go first? How about Vivian? Is there like a dream person you'd like to work with?
Why do you put me on the spot?
I just gotta choose someone.
You always put me on the spot. Honestly, my dream is to work with David Cronenberg. I love him. I mean, I just absolutely... I've dreamt about this. I really and truly have. You know, like, just like 2 nights ago, I was like thinking of my films, and I laid it out. I was like, David Cronenberg, Marcus and Jessie, and just like laying out. It was like, you get $10,000 to make a film, and I was like, Cronenberg and Jessie and Marcus. That was my thing. I mean, really and truly, that was my thing. I don't care about like being fancy and being sophisticated and things like that. I mean, in my mind and in my heart, it's the underground. I stay with it, and people think that it's convoluted or insulting or however they want to balance everything out. But really and truly, it's my heart. I would give all that money to Jessie and Marcus. I really would. And yeah, Felicia, you're so adorable. I'd pull you in there too.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to really balance things out in my life and my company, and for me, I think that giving back to the girls that have paved the way, like Jessie and Felicia, I would really give everything for them. I really would. And it sounds kind of biased, but as far as I'm concerned, it's okay.
Hey, when you find good people, which can be hard to find, yes, latch onto them, and everybody support each other and take care of each other, because it is a tough fucking world out there. So yes, I get that. Jessie, how about you? If there's a dream person, director, actor, or journalist, or whomever, who would you love to work with?
Well, I'm very lucky, and my one big one for me was Larry Fessenden, and I got to work with him on Jacob's Wife, and tried not to be a total dork the entire time I was like on set with him, but I would God's willing, work with him again, like in a heartbeat. But my dream project is to actually I want to make a Puppet Master movie really, really bad.
Yes.
So if anyone out there in that land is listening right now, I definitely need to do that in my life. Unironically, I love that series. So I guess that's next on my bucket list is a Puppet Master movie. Let's make it happen.
I'm going to jump into it. There's a question for Felicia from Zoe. If they remade an extreme horror film, is there one you'd love to star in? Out of the 3 movies you've watched.
Exactly. I'm not sure. I think I'll need to think about that for a little bit. Yeah, let me think about that and reach out to you about that, because I can't really think of anything. The first thing that comes to mind, I've been talking for like the last couple years about like how much Uncut Gems inspired me and how I would do anything to be in a film like that. It's like hot girl, high stress situation, something, So, but that is not extreme horror. That is just very stressful drama. So that's my answer for the time being.
Love that.
Yeah.
And we have a question from Lydia under typical books. What is the top film you would suggest an aspiring filmmaker, actor, or special effects artist watch for inspiration if they want to create extreme films but have not watched many? Maybe Jessie, I'll start with you on that one.
So wow, I guess just like start with the originals. I think that if you haven't seen any like at all, Necromantic would probably be like a really fun one to start with. The effects are over the top and really foul, especially if you've never been exposed to anything like that before. And the plot is very John Waters-esque, so it's kind of the best of both worlds. It's a little gross out film that doesn't take itself too seriously. So I would suggest people start with that one.
Love that. Great idea. Great suggestion. Vivian, how about you?
Well, to be honest, I think that the film that I would introduce people into would probably be the same. It's so beautiful. I mean, it's really hard to balance out everything, and I get really tired of when people say martyrs, because that's like my number one film. Don't fuck with me on martyrs. Don't even fuck with me on martyrs. But yeah, I'm agreeing with Jessie. It's really romantic. It really is. I mean, get rid of all the bullshit, and leave everything else alone. Jessie is right on. It's necromantic. It's so beautiful and so pretty and really romantic. And if you don't like me, well.
Yeah, well, Necromantic I think is also a great recommendation because it's when you watch it, you really feel that DIY kind of the aspect of it, the energy of it. So I think that's a great suggestion. So there's another question here, Goblin. This one's for everyone, but what is your favorite guilty pleasure or comfort movie that no one would expect? Felicia, do you have one of those? Yes.
Okay, I have watched Bully by Larry Clark so many fucking times. It doesn't even make sense. I don't know. Like, I really love coming of age shows and like dramas and stuff like that. I have a short list of series and like movies I like in that genre, but like that one, like in particular, I don't know. I don't think people expect it because they're like, why? It's just like a true crime, like reproduction movie, and I'm just like, I don't know, dude. Like, I love it. Like, I could watch it like over and over. I don't know. It's just everyone looks so sweaty. Like, it just feels so real. It feels like you're in fucking Florida when you watch it. And I'm like obsessed with like Larry Clark. So yeah, that I would say.
Jessie, how about you?
My favorite comfort movie is Dirty Dancing.
Oh wow! Okay.
So I'm really going here and divulging all the secrets, and maybe
Great
it's
question.
more disturbing giving like what I create that's like my comfort movie. But, yeah, I watch it multiple times a year, and I mean, nobody puts baby in a corner, right? And then you got the Patrick Swayze solo song. I mean, come on, it's fucking great.
Yeah. It's pure magic. It really is. Oh my god, I'm trying to think of a comfort movie for me that no one would expect. The Guest I watch a lot, and John Wick. Like, I am obsessed with the John Wick series, but I also I love the first movie so much. I love how it sounds. I love the cinematography, the fight for choreography, the neon, like the lighting and the soundtrack. Like, I probably watch that almost monthly. I love it so much. And The Guest monthly, because Dan Stevens is hottie with a body, and the movie is kind of just ridiculous and a little bit over the top, with also a wonderful score and great kind of fight choreography and stuff like that. But those two, I would say, are comfort films that would be unexpected. I also like some action movies, so yes, those would be mine. Vivian, comfort movies or guilty pleasure movies?
No, actually, I love Good Will Hunting.
Oh.
I really do. I hope this doesn't spoil anybody's perception about me, but yeah, Good Will Hunting and Juno. That's my girl. You know, Juno is like, get the fuck out of here. Yeah, and at the same time, I'm not cool on the sausage thing, but yeah.
Great.
And to be honest with you, any Terrence Malick, I love Terrence Malick. He is, I mean, any film that he makes is amazing, from The Tree of Life to On the Wandering and things like that. Yeah, I mean, I as scary as I may seem right now, yeah, it's really and truly like my blessing is to make a film as like a romance film. Like that's my purpose, is like to come and make a really, really, really good romance film. I would love to do it, but make it weird.
Isn't romance weird anyways? I like to think romance is horror, so it's
it is.
Sounds
really
perfect.
Weird. I mean, people don't realize how much romance is something that it takes a lot of time. I mean, we can chop up everybody on the planet, but can we love everybody? And
wow, there you go.
That's the balance. It's like, I'm super dark, you know.
There's the big question of today.
I'm not super dark.
We can chop up everyone, but can we love everyone? Ponder that, folks. Ponder that.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, we sit here and we talk amongst ourselves, but at the same time, it's like people think that I'm pandering to Felicia and I'm pandering to Jessie, but I'm not. I'm being totally 100% my heart.
Love it.
And
I want to make sure. Sorry, Vivian. I want to make sure I get into all of these questions. So the Glamour Ghoul has a question. Any words of wisdom for someone working on their first indie feature-length production? Any words of caution? Maybe I'll throw that to Jessie.
First and foremost, I would say just don't ever forget you have a right to take up space and be putting stuff out there. I think that there is definitely like this idea that it has to be perfect, whatever it is you're making. It doesn't. There's plenty of people who came before you and who will come after you that did not make perfect projects. So don't worry about that. Just know that you want to create and you want to feel something and you want to put something out there, and that's valid and amazing. And as far as caution, I mean, everything's a landmine when you're making a film. So just understand, sometimes like things go wrong. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong, especially like your first few projects. And we've all been there, and that's just like how it goes. And you just keep going until it's done, and then you get like right back up on that horse and you make your second one. So you got this.
Love that. Thank you. And then we have a question for Felicia, specifically from Joshua. Love your haunting, powerful performance in The Degenerates. Would you be interested in starring in other true crime films like Bully, Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, Zodiac, etc.? Because you're kind of a big true crime fan.
I am. I really am. Yeah, I would be interested in that. I feel like, I don't know, sometimes I do wonder if my tattoos like get in the way of me portraying a lot of different people. And like recently I've been thinking about like the ethics of like doing true crime like inspired works, because that is a real person who really died, and that has made me feel kind of funny. I mean, like, I'm the person who has like 15 true crime podcasts I keep up with regularly every single week, but it's like I understand like that lots of people are turning people's true crime stories into content or whatever. But yeah, I think I would have to think more about the case and what that would look like and all of that, you know? I sound like such a fucking wimp, especially because like I've definitely like loved lots of movies based on true crime cases, but I don't know, it sits in the back of my mind sometimes. Like, wow, this was like a real person. I don't know what would happen if their family watched this movie. That might make me feel kind of weird. But I mean, I don't know. That's something it's a case by case basis, I guess, you know. Yeah.
Absolutely. No, I agree. There's
Mhm.
an element of respect. There's a fine line, right? I don't know where that line is, but there is something to be said for especially a lot of true crime based movies. Like, are you going to go too exploitative? Is it going to be too excessive? Like, should we be doing this? I think those are great questions to be asking, especially if you want to put yourself in those films. Absolutely.
I have anxiety, so I think about them constantly.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Let's see. I think that was it for the questions. I'm just looking back to see. I think that's it for the questions. So folks, if you don't have any more questions, then we'll start wrapping up. I know there's lots of comments. Everybody in these comments love you three. So this has been really, really lovely. Like, I now love all three of you. And this is, I already love Jessie. Like, I wish I could hug Jessie. You've also been there for me. We've had a lot of tough conversations together about things. So it's been wonderful getting to know everyone, and I hope to get to know both you, Felicia and Vivian, as the time goes on, because both seem like good people, and we need to find good people, find our people, right? Okay, one last question, and then we will wrap things up. From Goblin, another one for everyone. Is there anything you feel personally crosses a line in a film? That's a secondary bit to it, but is there something that you think is too much or maybe should not be shown? I know what I would say, which is animal cruelty, which doesn't happen all the time, thankfully, but that is lazy and unnecessary, and I'd rather not. Again, I like all the fake stuff. I personally don't sit around watching a lot of like real deaths and gore stuff because it's just not that interesting to me. It's sad, and I don't need a lot of reminders of the messed up world we live in. But that's for me. No animal deaths, please. Anybody else? What's something that maybe crosses a line for you, or maybe we should think about more?
I'm definitely on the animal cruelty side of things. I do like some films that unfortunately do have like that as an element like in them.
Yeah.
And I think especially like when I was like younger and those films were sort of like influencing me and I was first getting into them, I didn't think about it so much in the context of how like unnecessary like it is. But definitely as I've like grown older, I've changed my mind on it. So while I do still like Necromantic and I do still like Cannibal Holocaust, you could leave out the animal death scenes, and it would still be the same movie. I actually have started getting really uncomfortable, even though like with fake animal death in movies. And it's just like upsetting to me, like, and I don't want to watch it. Like, I don't want to see a dog die. Like, I just don't, you know? And that's like my line. I also, strangely like enough, as a viewer, and kind of most people portray rape in films. I think that sometimes people are lazy with that as a plot line and just sort of have it in there just to be shocking, and it doesn't actually add anything to the story. It just serves as a reason to get the actress naked. And I think it's really obvious the films that do it in that context. And I'm just kind of over that for like extreme films. If you're going to show that, make it have like a purpose and have a meaning, or think about another way to portray it. And that's just from watching literally like hundreds that have almost like the paint by numbers like rape scene in them, you know, and you're like, okay guys, like just think of something else, you know. So those are my lines right now. Everything else is pretty much on the table.
Fair. Vivian, how about you?
Well, I'm gonna have to go with Jessie. I don't like animal cruelty. I think that also rape is not. No, it's a big no for me. But at the same time, I have to also acknowledge like Green Hell. I know. I see you, girl. You know, Green Hell is an amazing film. And
Felicia, you're in Green Hell, right? We can't hear Felicia now.
Are you talking about the
There we
part
go.
where it's simulated that I'm getting fucked by a gun? Or
I mean, I really think that you know, my girl is, you know, she did an amazing job. I'm not cool with rape. I'm not cool with animal cruelty. I won't do it. You know, I won't do it. But at the same time, as you know, we're sitting here and we're discussing these things, and we sound like hypocrites. That's my girl. I mean, I love Felicia. I really do. And if
I think,
if I was going to do a film, no, I don't think that there's anything I wouldn't do. Oh, poop! I won't do.
Sorry, Jessie, go ahead. You had a counterpoint.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I think that in the context of Green Hell, it wasn't coming off as something that was unnecessary. So just using that like as an example of that was like clearly like part of the plot and like advancing things. So it's, you know, to just clarify, it's like I'm not necessarily like speaking to like all of it, but just like the parts where it doesn't advance like the story or isn't really like part of that, you know. But I'm quite the fan of like Green Hill and Felicia's performance in it, and I just wanted to clarify that something like that I do feel like was appropriate in that context.
I mean, you're 100% correct.
Great. Well, now, I think that's it for all of the.
That's it.
Yeah, I'm gonna start wrapping this up because I try to do these for about an hour. So folks, thank you so much for all of your comments and your questions and your engagement with the chat and with my guests here today. But so thank you to Felicia, thank you to Jessie, thank you to Vivian. You are wonderful and inspirations to all of us. So thank you again for taking time out of your busy schedules to hang out with me today. And I want to thank Jessica, my tech gremlin behind the scenes. That pretty much has made this happen. So again, thank you everyone who joined, who came in to watch this live. All of this will be archived on the YouTube channel. I think it takes about 24 hours. So thank you all again. I hope to see everyone back at 4 p.m. Eastern time for the next panel, which is on cultural extremism. Stay grim.